Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to the Stat Geek Q&A. We are here for another show here on a Tuesday evening, live on YouTube. This is Deputy Editor Dave Schofield coming at you with, once again, as always, his big brother Rich. We still doing good, Rich?
Still hanging in there.
Your throat should be feeling fine because we didn't let you talk very much last show.
That's okay. I was saving up. I have fun getting into folks here with the Q&A, so I hope the live chat gets rolling.
Yeah, there we go. And for those of you that were not with us for the last show and are wondering who's that guy hanging out the bottom of the screen with the exquisite Kevin Green hair, not green hair, hair matching that of Kevin
there
Green.
You go.
We have behind the steel curtain writer Flip Fisher. Flip, how are you?
Well, I guess St. Patty's Day is coming up. I'm half Irish. Might as well, dye green maybe.
Yeah. Maybe you could make the hair green. Rather than people were saying in the live chat last show, they're like, I keep holding up a picture of Kevin Green next to him. I'm telling you, it's the same guy. It's the same guy. So
I would take his bank account over mine.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm like, if you're just, I'm like, if you really are Kevin Green, then you should be donating a whole lot more to the show. So we'll just say that. So here we go. We talked about salary cap stuff last show, and man, it's really not good. It's really not good for the Steelers, and it could be a little bit less not good, if we want to say it that way, if the Steelers can operate under a new collective bargaining agreement where they're not handcuffed by the 30% rule. Now, there's going to be plenty of other things that go along with this agreement. There's a chance you have to adjust the salary cap because of so many of the minimum salaries basically going up 20% per year. So I don't see how they could keep the same salary cap and say, oh, wait, by the way, you're going to be paying over half your team 20% more. They're going to have to do some adjusting of the numbers. We don't know what they are. So the biggest question now is, what's going to happen with this CBA? So here's what I'm going to do with you guys. I'm going to do something a little bit fun. I'm going to assign you to be a person, and you're going to tell me whether or not you would vote for this collective bargaining agreement. So I'm going to start with Flip, and here's the first thing I'm going to do. Flip Fisher, if you got a vote and you are Flip Fisher, writer for Behind the Steel Curtain, but you got to vote on the CBA, how would you vote and why?
Oh, I'd give it a yay because I would absolutely be one of the fringe NFL players that is making the minimum salary. You don't see 49-year-old NFL players for a reason.
So from Flip's perspective, you want to see a yay.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it this coming year. The minimum salaries jump up from $510,000 for first-year players to $610,000.
Yeah.
For all other players that are making minimum salaries, I believe it goes up 90%. Sam Acho had a great post on Twitter.
Oh yes, he did. I was going to mention that.
Yeah. So Sam Acho was saying 60% of all NFL players make the minimum. So when you're looking at that, when 60% of players will actually double their salary over the course of the next 10 years.
Yeah.
How can you beat that?
Well, what I liked about his video, because he had two, he had one and then another one that he posted in the comments, that he laid out, okay, who is this good for? Who is this bad for? And we're going to get to that. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit. For next question is, I'm going to say, Big Bro Sco, Rich Schofield, season ticket holder, with a friend, just Steeler fan. They give you a vote on the CBA. What are you voting?
I'm voting pass it.
You're voting pass it because?
I want to make sure we have football, because my first thought is if the CBA doesn't pass this year, there will be a lockout next year.
Yes. Now, it's funny. I keep saying lockout. I don't know if it'll be the owners locking out the players. I don't know if it'll be the players striking.
Right.
I'm not sure.
It'll be one or the other. There will be a stoppage in play.
A stoppage in play. And as Dave Schofield deputy editor of BehindSteelCurtain.com and Steelers podcaster, I am saying I would vote. Not only would I vote yes, I would find a way to try to clear my cache and vote yes 1,000 times like you do on internet surveys. Although I know there's no way they allow you to do that. I'm voting yes for this, and I want to see it passed because I don't see them getting this close in the next, I'm going to say 15 months. I'm saying at this point next year, plus another 3 months beyond that, I don't see them getting anywhere close to where they are right now. Because one of the things that the owners really want is they want the deal now, and they were willing to give up more to have it now. The players still feel like they're not getting enough. So if you feel like you're still not getting enough, the owners are going to come back and not even want to give as much as they did now because they're not getting one of the things they really wanted. So I did go on record as saying right now there's only 3 major things that we know of that the owners want. They want it now. They want the extra playoff team per conference, and they want the extra game. And the stuff that I have been able to read in the CBA, and I'm telling you, I'm not even a quarter of the way through it, but I've actually skipped ahead to a couple things just to look at. There's more in there. There's more stuff that the owners are getting that we knew would come out eventually. There's, it's interesting because who was the player? Another one I saw on Twitter. I know Marquise Pouncey shared it because it was a player who said they had their law firm go through and read the whole document and give their opinion on it. Well, first of all, I didn't think it looked like a legit law firm because the way they used all caps and the way they said stuff, they called it a take it or leave it deal. It is not a take it or leave it deal. It's a take it or leave it for this year because they can't keep going now and change the rules for the year once the year gets started. This is the last chance they have this year. It's take it or leave it for now, but you're going to come back to the table again next year. So, but there was some stuff in there that they brought up. One of the things is that the whole idea of holding out during training camp. They've made some rules against holding out for training camp. Now, I can see it both ways. The players we should be able to hold out for new contracts. And my thing is, well, maybe you shouldn't sign such a bad contract in the first place. That's one. I mean, if you're going to sign a contract and then you don't want to honor that contract, that's frustrating to an owner. They're like, hey, we dealt with the same thing last year with Antonio Brown. His ego couldn't handle not being the highest paid wide receiver. He was 2 years into a 5-year deal and wanted a new deal because he wanted to be the highest paid because he wasn't anymore. And I'm like, well, why don't you live up to then why sign a 5-year deal? Why not? You need to live up to your end of your deal. Yeah. So I see that. But at the same time, I'm like, how many players, Flip, you might even know the answer to this, Rich, I don't know if you do. How many players hold out each year? A training camp?
It's so minimal.
Yeah.
What
is it, like 3?
I probably less than 5.
Yeah.
What'd you have last year? You had Zeke, Gordon, and Trent Williams. Were there others that I'm probably flying underneath the radar?
I mean, I'm thinking it was the year before was Aaron Donald, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
You make a very valid point. Some of the concessions that the owners did give standing firm on like this is only affecting a very few.
Yes. I think the owners have been very smart. I think that they have in order to get what they want, they have appealed to the majority of the league.
Yep.
And that's not your superstars. So let's dive down this path a little bit. Flip, I'm going to assign you a new role. You are the third highest paid player on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You are still under contract for a couple more years. You are David DeCastro. If you are David DeCastro, how do you vote on this deal?
Oh, absolutely not. No way. I don't want it.
Because
what I basically get is a 6.5% increase for that 17th game on my salary, or 6.25. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so minimal, and is it worth the wear and tear on my body to actually do that?
Exactly. Now, now I'm going to ask you this from a number standpoint, because this was something in that previous. I wish I could remember who tweeted that out. That had the thing from the lawyer. One of their contentions was players are playing an extra game and they're not being fully compensated for it. Now they took away the provision that capped that off, but their argument about being fully compensated is, oh, well, they're playing one extra game. You know, they're playing they're adding 1/16 to what they play, but they're only getting paid 1/17 more because players get paid over the bye week. Do you see that as much of an argument as enough of an argument there? Because they're saying because they divide up their paychecks by 17, that they're going to give them the extra paycheck for that week, but that's a 17th rather than a 16th of what it would be to actually play the game.
That's where I just mentioned about the 6.25% increase.
That's really minimal, isn't it?
Come on. Yeah, it really is. I mean, you're making $30 million. Do you really care about a 6% increase?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
having to play a 17th game. No, you don't.
So you say no because you're not getting enough in return. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Rich, I'm going to assign you someone. You ready?
Okay.
You're Ola Adeniyi. You are playing just above the league minimum. You are in your third year. You are an undrafted free agent. You are trying to figure out, you are trying to make sure you're making the roster. How are you voting on this deal?
Wow, that's actually a tough one, and I knew you were going to go that route with it too. What is Ola? What's he making?
Ola is this year I'll tell you his cap number. Okay. Ola's cap number is $665,000. He is making his base salary is $660,000 with a $5,000 which $5,000 of that was from a signing bonus. So his actual pay would be $660,000.
I would say, as Ola,
I mean, he's barely above the minimum. So
I'm still voting yes. Okay. Because I'm still on my rookie deal. I've got years left, and I'm eventually going to, that minimum number that's going to bump every year over the 10 is going to come up and pass me. So I will gain something not as substantial as someone currently on the league minimum, but I'm still gaining enough that I'm probably going to vote yes.
Yeah. Now, Flip, see if you could... Because it would be a rookie deal, he would get a bump. It might not be a full 20%, but he would see an increase in play.
Because he's actually a second-year player, or third year.
He'd be a third-year player.
I believe he gets bumped to $90,000 this year.
Yeah,
and then it would be $45,000 every year after that until he signs a new deal.
A new deal.
So I mean, we're talking, we're talking a nice size, nice chunk of change. We're not talking 6% here.
So you think that's a player who would vote yes as well?
I would think so. We're talking a guy who's a fringe player in the NFL. Yeah. I know some people might want to say he's going to start if we get rid of Bud Free,
possibly.
but that's $100,000 for maybe riding the pine for a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
To these guys.
Absolutely. All right, I got another one. I'm not going to take it. I'm going to ask it to Flip. Okay, are you ready? You are a first-round draft pick of the Steelers, entering your fourth season, looking to become possibly the first $100 million contract as a defensive player in a couple of years. You are TJ Watt. How are you voting on this deal?
Oh, absolutely not. No way.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
So because even though he would benefit from it a little bit now, it's not going to pay off for him when he's going to be one of the highest paid guys in the league.
Well, there's a couple of aspects here with that. Right now, what they're doing is with the fifth year, which the Steelers are going to accept his fifth year or designate him fifth year, however you say that. So that's not only guaranteed for injury now. but it's also guaranteed for performance. So once the Steelers actually assign him the fifth year tag, he automatically gets that no matter what. Before, players could actually have that 5th year rescinded if based on performance. So with me being budget free, sorry, TJ Watt. No, I wouldn't like it at all. 6% raise. No.
See,
17
and that's
just the added risk of injury.
And that's what people just have to remember, is that some of these guys, especially guys, not every first round draft pick is going to pan out. We've seen that. Goodbye Artie Burns. Okay. Most of these guys that are taken towards the top of the draft, they're just trying to get to their next contract to make their money. So they're not necessarily thinking about these 4 years to start, because they're thinking about the next one. You get even in the second, third, and definitely beyond guys, they just need to make what they can right now, because next year is not guaranteed. And next week's not guaranteed during the season, that they know that if the team was to make a move, oh man, all of a sudden I'm cut. I'm not on the 53 anymore. So how Wes, thank you. I'm pretty sure, yes, it was Eric Reed that tweeted that out. I knew someone would hook me up. Thank you very much. That was in the live chat that Wes said that with the whole thing with the lawyers. What percentage of the team do you think this benefits that they would want to vote yes? I mean, do you think it's like the NFL when it's right around 60%? Or do you think there's a lot of guys that are technically NFLPA members that aren't even with the team right now that are going to be voting yes to try to, to see an expanded roster and to make a little bit more if they can get picked up for a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you, based on what I was seeing out there, I really think Ramon Foster votes yes on this.
Oh, you can tell by what he put on Twitter that he's been in support of it.
There are going to be certain guys, and it's going to be those guys that are in that 40% it's going to be those guys at the bottom part of that 40% that know and have a little better understanding about what some of that 60% is going through and dealing with. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see some of those guys late in their career, like Ramon Foster, say, let's look out for some of these other guys on the team.
Yeah. And
you're going to get a few more votes that way. I'd say on just about every team. Not a lot, but if you're already looking at close to 60% of the league, you're saying, well, that 60%, some of those guys are going to trickle out and potentially vote yes, or vote no. Yeah. But you're going to have some of those guys enough trickle back that mm-hmm. I see this probably being around a 60-40 split.
Yeah. I want to bring this up because I was going to say it after we were done, but Wes beat me to it in the live chat.
Yeah.
He says Cam Hayward isn't bottom 60, and he seems to be voting yes. Now, he hasn't said he's voting yes, but if you just look at how he's been on social media, I don't know that he's definitely voting yes. I will tell you this. He has problems with guys that are just voting yes and not really given any substantive reason why. Or, I'll be honest with you. It feels like Ramon Foster has flat out called out Marquise Pouncey for saying, you want to scream and chat about this. Why were you never, ever in player meetings? Why did you never come to the rep meetings? Why did you not come and learn about any of this? You can tell that that's exactly Cam and Ramon are completely calling Pouncey out for this, saying you want to scream and shout and say you have all the answers, but you never once came to the meeting to actually voice your opinion or say anything. That's the stuff that he's upset with. So I don't know that I by all indications, I think Cam is voting yes because he knows it's what's better for the majority of the league. But he's more upset about people that are making uninformed decisions.
Well, but also, think about Cam's situation right now. If we're playing under the old CBA and the Steelers can't afford to give him a new contract, then he's playing on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Well, what if he gets hurt?
I was going to come up with another player and say that. What about Big Al? I'll ask either one of you. What if you're Big Al? You're playing on the last year of your deal. You're making what is he making? About $6 million, $5 million in base salary. I mean, because he's an $8-some million cap hit. I keep switching over and bringing up the numbers here on my computer. But this is his last year. What do you think he does?
That's a tough call because he's
a tough call.
like your brother brought up. He's one of those middle of the road guys. Yeah. He's the bottom end of the 40%. Mm-hmm. He's not making a huge amount of money. Is he in it for maybe the benefits afterwards? Yeah. After his NFL playing career? I don't know. It's a good question. I'll throw that to your brother and let him say.
What do you think, Rich?
I don't know.
Someone like Big Al, I'm kind of there with you, Flip. Not short. He's one of those he's that undecided voter that politicians are out there trying to grab up. Like he could go either way. We were talking about some of these guys that are in that upper 40 and things that they may do here or there. I just was thinking of a little hypothetical here. Okay. I'm going to talk about a guy no longer playing in the league, but I want you to think about this guy for a minute if he was in the league and making a vote on this. Okay. Rob Gronkowski.
Okay.
I see that a guy like Rob Gronkowski probably would vote yes on this CBA.
And you would say because
Rob Gronkowski has managed his money so well, Rob Gronkowski can say to himself, I've gotten mine and I'm not worried about the money that I have coming in. But here I've been in a locker room. I mean, think about it. He's been in with the Patriots. The Patriots they probably are one of those few teams that have through the years haven't been 60% on those league minimum salaries. There's years I feel they're even higher than that. Okay. Mm-hmm. He would say, I'm good. He's one of those guys that might say, I'm good. I've got plenty. This is my chance to help some of those other guys.
See, and that's because I'm not going to bring it up because it was a long comment, but Wes was saying he thinks that Al votes no because of the whole thing as a vet, thinking about Al taking care of people after they're done playing. To me, I think if you want to look at Al as a vet, I think he votes yes because he's going to look out for what's best for the majority of everyone. And that's what was so great. If Flip wants to comment any more about I never say his name. I butcher names so bad. Sam, is it Acho or Ocho?
Sam Acho. Yeah.
Sam Acho. He was up for the NFLPA president, but instead it is the center for the Browns. JC, is it Trotter? Start with the T. Yeah. I know that. I'll screw that. It's who got elected, which wasn't the guy that got supported by all the guys that were voting no. That was Michael Thomas, the safety from the Giants. He was not the one that was elected. And the guy that Acho said he voted yes. Michael Thomas was one of the no guys. And the guy that they elected is a guy that was more of a, let's talk about the pros and cons for everybody. So, but the Acho video, I think he did a really good job of saying, if you're a guy playing in the very top, this is not, you're going to want to vote no for this. If you're one of the guys that's playing on a rookie deal or the league minimum, you're going to want to vote yes. So it's not just about the money. I think they're giving a lot of concessions. I mean, look at these things that they were so upset about, because you got to admit, 9 years ago, they didn't do a very good deal. I mean, some people.
Yeah, the players could have gotten more out of that deal.
Yeah, they did not do a very good deal. Like one of the articles that they did on overthecap.com is they talked about how when the salary cap grows, the league minimum should grow with it. And they didn't grow it over the last 9 years like with the salary cap.
15,
and they're like, well, after after 10 more years, they're going to be getting close to what they should have been. So that's why it needs to be better. I'm like, you can't just go back and say, well, we need to rewrite the last 9 years in the next 10. You can't do that.
Right. If you didn't want that, then you shouldn't have done that deal.
Exactly. So
same thing we were saying about Antonio Brown 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. If so, you can't go back and get and fix everything that you messed up with the last deal, and then start with everything getting corrected, and then expect to grow from there. So that's one of the things. They did get a lot of the decisions being taken away from Roger Goodell, which is the thing. Different drug testing, all that other stuff. But
so now the players can actually smoke pot for right around 50 weeks out of the year. And but what's the penalty if you end up testing positive?
That's the thing. They're reducing the penalties. They're reducing the fines. They're reducing a lot of the stuff that the players really wanted. Now they took a bad deal last time, and this deal I think is so much better than the last one. But like I said, it's let's look at the 48%.
It's not top heavy. So we're hearing all the voices of the guys that are constantly in the media because they're the top guys in the league. They're feeling they're not getting much from this. They're very much against it.
There's a lot of people that don't like that it's not a 50-50 split, that it was a 47% for the players, 53 for the owners of all the league revenues. And it's going from 47 to 48. Then there's a media kicker of 48.5. It's not guaranteed, but trust me, with the deal they're going to be getting for the TV, they're going to get
coming.
it. People are like, well, why don't they go to 50? Why don't they go to 50? I'm like, you know what they're doing? They're going halfway. They're going halfway this time. So that way, when they go the rest of the way next time, it's 50 in 10 years from, or it would be 11 years from now.
Right.
That's what I personally think. And then that way the owners still have something to work with to offer if they want to go to that 18th game in 11 years.
Well, and that's the thing right now. I mean, there's owners that are mad that the CBA in its current version is going through or being offered because they wanted that 18th game.
Yeah, they did. Now, I can tell you, Jerry Jones has got to be one of those guys.
And they're holding
there are a few owners that are saying that. And also saying, hey, we hope it fails because, we want to get this 18th game. If I was one of those guys that wanted that to happen as an owner, I don't think I'd have said that.
Say it.
I think that was said and leaked. Honestly, you can go into all kinds of crazy theories here, but could somebody kind of leak that out saying some owners kind of wanted that, thinking that might help get a few more yes votes?
It wasn't those owners that leaked it. It was somebody else that leaked
I know.
Yeah, so it's the whole
I agree.
And the carrot thing. If you don't want the CBA, we'll offer the 18th game, and you can take that or leave it. And,
I honestly think that if it doesn't happen now, that we're going to be missing football next year.
Yeah,
because I think they're going to be so far apart and so diametrically opposed. I think the owners will be upset that the players didn't take this deal because they felt it was fair. I think the players are going to think like the owners are still trying to take advantage of them, and they're going to be further apart than they're ever going to be. And what's funny is Pouncey's making it seem like the non-high paid players are afraid of a work stoppage. Well, you know what? They should be. They should be, because how much? I mean, think about it. How much? Everyone still says, well, maybe not everyone, a lot of people still say that the dumbest thing that Le'Veon Bell did was sit out a whole year and just miss a year. You're not getting any younger for that year. Well, if the entire league and guys that only have maybe 2 or 3 seasons in the league, period, because that's the average of it anyway, they're going to miss their chance. That they'd rather make some, and I know that's the guys that some of the upper end guys are trying to appeal to, but it's not just that. Not only you're going to get a chance to, it's a difference of, do I want to turn down a 20% raise in order to earn $0 next year? I mean, that's hard. That's really hard. Yeah. But for those guys that have already made their millions, so they sit out a year. They've still got plenty in the bank. It's honestly, is there was this a negotiating ploy of the owners to divide the players between the haves and have-nots?
I absolutely, and that's why I think that's why they structured it this way.
Yeah.
You see, how many Steelers are actually making over 10 million a year, and how many are actually making under 1 million, last year.
Yeah.
It's definitely divide and conquer.
Yeah.
$100,000 goes a long ways, right? Towards security after your 3.3 years career in the NFL is over with.
Yeah, it's I flipped over to the number, just say, I really wonder who is not making a. If you're looking at base salary, technically no one on the Steelers makes over 10 million as a base salary, but that's because they all have their roster bonuses. You really need to look at the cap number, because that's basically what takes into account your signing bonus and averages it out over the whole thing. And I mean, there you think about with the Steelers, it's only 7 players. It's only 7 players this coming year that have a cap number of 10 million or more. But if you want to look at players that are under a million, I mean, basically you're talking, holy cow. I mean, you're talking almost half of your 51. It's crazy, just the way they've done it. So,
and those are the players that the new CBA is going to benefit completely.
Exactly. So I need to open this up to the live chat for a little bit, because I just typed in the word questions. If you see it up there now in the live chat, anything you type now, I would pay attention to. Do you have anything you want to ask us here? I know Kathy just said was a follow-up to something else. You guys have been really lighting it up in the live chat, which has been great. So this is a dynamic thing, and I really think that this could create quite a separation amongst the players. Do you see something crazy where people break off from the union and they form 2 different unions, of a lower. Can they legally do that? I mean, maybe you already got Russell Okung, who they thought was going to be the president, suing the NFLPA leadership about saying that they weren't negotiating in good faith and that they didn't follow the rules to send this to a league-wide vote. But you know what I have to say? If this passes a league-wide vote and their complaint is it shouldn't be valid because it wasn't half of the representatives, then you know what I say? Shame on your representatives for not representing your league. Because if the majority of the players want it, then the representatives should be doing what the majority of the players want. But that's just me. So if either one of you have anything you want to say about that.
No, you said it all.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with Rich.
Yeah. Michael O'Malley says, Dave, we could talk till we're blue in the face. The CBA is the biggest part of how the Steelers look next year. Thoughts? Yeah.
Absolutely.
No
question.
It could even, I'm saying at the very least, it saves 1 player from being cut. At the least,
possibly more,
possibly 4. You know what I'm saying?
I would say Vance McDonald right now is probably the biggest guy sitting on that bubble.
I agree, and I still think there's one other possibility with Vance. Sorry, the biggest possibility with Vance that some people might not be thinking is the Steelers might want to be working a new contract with him where he actually takes a pay cut to stay in Pittsburgh to see if he wants to do that. Don't know if he will, but that's one of those things. So, Steve, go ahead.
Hey, and the worst thing with McDonald was, he was basically invisible last year. But, it was because, Rudolph and Duck, neither one of them really cared to throw him the ball when he's just wide open. It wasn't him doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And, the year before he had his career year, I think he had 58 or 56 catches.
And what's sad is I thought he was going to put up big numbers with Rudolph because, Rudolph comes in and that's in that Seattle game and hits him for 2 touchdowns in the second half. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be his safety net. And then all of a sudden, it's like he wasn't even on the field. It's like they didn't even look where he was. No. So Steelers Pittsburgh wants to know, I heard the new deal helps retired players with medical insurance. I'm still trying to dig through that one.
Yes.
I've heard both ways.
Yes and no from what I've seen. Well, it's if they receive certain medical stuff, what was I reading? Under
Social Security. In other words, the league doesn't want to pay for stuff that the government's going to pay for.
Correct.
Why would you want to pay if the government's going to cover it? But I also know that could create some problems with how things work. I think once again, for the vast majority of former players, it's going to be better. For a few of them dealing with specific issues, it's going to be worse.
Yep.
So that's just, there's so much of the CBA that it works well for some, but not well for others.
And there's a lot of complicated stuff and I have not looked at that. That's one of those things where, I'm dragging my feet on looking at all the bennies.
Well, trust me, I don't think the current players are doing this for, they're going to change their vote based on the medical insurance for past players.
No.
I mean, they might think of themselves for when they're done, but that's that's just not what you do when you're 24 years old and trying to make it in the NFL. Reed wants to know, when's the deadline for Vance's option? Is that the league year? Beginning of the league year?
I
think it is.
It's either then or like 3 or 5 days after.
Yeah. So yeah, I would have to look into that. You know what? I might be able to click to that here if we get on to something else. Well, there went my live chat. So some people, talking about Bud Dupree. Here, I'm just going to bring this up because Wes kind of answered this. He said, this was according to Acho. He says, retires players who have lasting disabilities as a result of their career, or the people that it might not benefit, who it's not going to be necessarily. I'll be honest with you, it might be better than what the CBA is now, but it just might not be good enough of what they would like, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm not sure comparing it to the current CBA.
The Vance McDonald option is on the March 17th. I just looked it up real quick.
So that's Tuesday.
Yeah, the day before.
So that's the day before. So, well, I guess I got to get that story ready to go to see what they do.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Kathy wants to know who gets to vote. Practice squad, free agents.
Well, technically, there aren't free agents yet.
Yeah.
Technically.
Technically, there are some players that were released that have already been able to sign before that.
But yes, practice squad gets to vote.
It's anyone who paid dues to the union last year.
Which could be guys that didn't even play last year, but still played union dues.
I've seen figures between 2,000 and 2,100. And, there's actually under 2,000 players. I don't know what you have to do to actually be forced to pay dues in the NFL, because it's not the 90-man roster guys during the summer, the cannon fodder for training camp. They're not paying dues, correct? This is where the huge nerd in me goes, ooh, that's something I want to learn about.
Yeah.
that I don't know about.
Yeah. So, which is funny, which is why both you and I kind of seem to be salary cap guys. That's why I became a comp formula guy, because I'm like, oh, I want to know what really goes into this. And what's sad is the information's so hard to get. But yeah, that's one of those things. I mean, because last year, oh man, I had it written down, but I don't have it with me because I did it. Brian and Jeff made fun of me because I was talking about how many players actually got credited with playing one game in the NFL last year. Okay. And it was like, I think it was 2024 is what it was, of how many players got credited with playing in a game. So now, like someone like Paxton Lynch, he was dressed for 2 games, but he didn't get credited for playing a game. But just a guy that was only up 1 week and was on the kickoff team, he got credited for playing a game. the weird number that I did, this is the nerd in me, and the two of them did not appreciate this at all. And I don't know if you guys would or not. I'm like, how many of the players that played last year played under the previous CBA? Which I was just thinking of it from CBA wise. Then I got to think, I'm like, how many guys stick around for 10 years? So I looked it up at how many players played in 2010 or before and played in 2019. And it was 143 players, which was 7% of the league. So only 7% of the league is going to make it, right now has made it 10 years or more. So that to me, that's just one of those weird numbers I look up. That's crazy. But that tells you that there's only, what's that?
I was surprised it was that high, 143, 10 years.
I was too. Well, which was funny because some of those players, like let's say, for example, there was a handful of them that was really tricky to find, like Marquise Pouncey, because he doesn't have 10 years in, but he played in 2010 and played in 2019, but that's because he missed a season due to injury. So there were some people like that. Okay. Wes says, here's a loaded question. Would guys like Landry Jones get a vote?
I would assume so.
Yeah, because he was in with the Raiders in the offseason, right? So I would assume he would.
Yeah.
Rich?
I'm trying to think that I read something way back, and Flip, you were saying it was like the number of votes that come in. I was thinking I saw that number of votes come in was even a lot higher, because there are guys that get the opportunity to vote just because of where they were when.
Mm-hmm.
And Landry might be one of those guys that fits that.
That was a good question.
Yeah, and I have no idea what I know that they needed to be paying dues for 2019, but
at what point are their dues due?
Yeah, and what
you said dues due.
Are you forced? Do you pay a whole year in dues, or do you pay like a monthly? See, it's stuff like that keeps me up at night.
You know what? I'm the same way. I'm like, once I think of a question, I got to find out the answer to that question, and I don't sleep well until I do. Okay.
Right, go to the very next one after Wes. Go to the very next. Okay.
I will. I'll come back to it.
Okay, come back
first
to that
because I brought this up. Reed said, "Is Landry working for a competitor now?" Though I don't know how that would change it. That could change it. That's a good question too. Yeah, I don't think we have it. You mean the Mark Carmichael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to that one just for a minute. So he's talking about 53 times 32 is 1,696.
Okay.
Now add on to the fact that those 53 aren't always the same 53.
Yep.
So
tack on 320 for the practice squad.
Yep.
Add another 320 for your practice squads.
Something like 328, because isn't there like 8 international players, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
No.
So 328 for that. Mm-hmm. Then the fact that you get guys that aren't
so that's already
guy gets brought up for the practice squad, somebody gets released, another new guy comes on the practice squad. So that's when something like that happens, there's another person to it. I mean this number.
Yeah. How many are on injured reserve each year?
Right.
Injured reserve. Yeah, because Ben wasn't on the 53 last year, but he gets a vote. How about, here's another one. J-Ron Elliott. He was up and back. He was on and off the Steelers a couple times last year, played 4 games? He's not a guy that you would count as one of your 53 guys, but he's definitely one of the players. So I think I had it calculated that there was it was like 68 different players got credited with playing a game for the Steelers last year, So, because that's more of a number you want to look at, more of like in the 70s.
Yeah, but see, you're saying play a game, but
that's not even like a Paxton Lynch or
right. You're talking Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch was there, was on the roster, that never saw a game. He still gets a vote. It's that number can really, really go.
Yep. It really can. So,
and you know, the extra players that you're talking about, these are the, you know,
these are the minimum guys.
Yeah, these are the 60% guys. So they're definitely going to be, you would think that most of them are going to be the guys that are going to say, yeah, absolutely, we'll take our $100,000.
Yep.
Yeah. And expanded practice squads. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
two more spots to then eventually for even two more. We're like, think about that. That's another 64 guys that are going to get a job. That's 64 people who should be voting yes.
Well, and we didn't talk about this tonight, that you know, the more people that there's three more guys active on game days, and the two extra practice squad guys, or 4 extra practice squad guys over the next couple of years. You get into that, and then you get into the accrued seasons, which means, you know, more towards becoming a free agent, and then of course getting benefits on top of that, you know, lifetime benefits for being an NFL player. You know, that's huge.
There you go.
Yeah.
X got it for you.
Per the NFLPA Constitution, roster players, practice squad players, and even free agents who aren't on a team but who are actively seeking employment with the team can be members in the union, as long as they pay their dues. So just because, you know what? You could be the highest paid guy on your roster, but you could choose to not be a part of the union.
Correct.
There's nothing that requires them to pay dues and be in the union.
That's good info.
Yeah, because years ago, my first year out of college, when I was a teacher, I chose not to be in the teachers union. I still had to pay them a reduced amount of dues because technically they were still representing my contract. They were, my contract was still negotiated by them, but I chose not to pay dues and belong to the union.
I did that for 11 years.
Yeah. So
I didn't have to pay a reduced thing. They wanted to take some of my sick days to put in the sick day pool. I'm like, I'll keep my own. Forget that.
Yeah. And the question would be, you know, what is, you know, how expensive are NFL player dues?
There you go. Hit Reed's up there. He didn't put a question.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Question. Yeah.
So Mr. Third and Fifth could be voting.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yep.
Mr. Third and Fifth had a vote on this. I'm totally certain. And I can probably tell you what his vote was.
He probably said no.
Of course.
So he's still trying to get millions of dollars from the Raiders when he never played a game. Wes said that there was an article that says it could be as high as 2,500.
Yeah, I think Wes is right there.
Kathy's right. Kathy said he probably didn't pay.
Probably didn't pay. Yeah, nice.
Oh, that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy.
Surprise for the evening. Yep. That was great.
So
and you know, one thing that they've done is, you know, the vote was actually supposed to end tomorrow night at midnight, and now it's being actually pushed back until Saturday. And another thing that I heard mentioned yesterday, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, is players have asked to change their votes, and the NFLPA said no. You know, have you guys heard
I can confirm that. That is true.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I could confirm that. Wes looked it up, and he said that technically their number is 2,423 active members.
Interesting.
Woo! Interesting. I'm glad you guys have time to look up these things. So,
by the way,
during the show, that's the kind of stuff I have to look up afterwards.
By the way, I do not blame the NFLPA for telling anybody they cannot change their vote. If you weren't sure, why'd you turn your vote in before the deadline?
Agreed.
Yeah,
should have waited.
And that opens up an integrity thing of how, you know, once the vote's cast, the player can't vote again. But I don't know. Are they allowed to keep a record of what the player actually voted?
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? That's just one of those tricky things.
I believe they're voting via email on it.
It's electronically. I've seen the name of the program that's being used, but I can't remember what it is.
So it's okay. Maybe it was that something was being sent out via email.
Yes.
But
they had to get a secure link through an email that takes them. You ever get an email that Well, I get a season ticket holder for Steelers where I have to take, they asked me to take a secure survey. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be something similar like that. That's a secure site that the only way you can get there is through the link that they emailed out. So, but like I said, I don't know if they keep track of the vote to then be able to take that one away and go back. So, but I saw that people mention, hey, if you go out and do early voting, in an election, you can't go back and say, I changed my mind. So it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate, but probably for the integrity of the process, it's probably the right decision.
Yep.
So, well, guys, especially those of you in the live chat, those of you on YouTube, those listening to podcasts, we've gone long tonight. But man, that's because we had Flip with us and we were having a great time.
Yep.
Flip, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on this show with us. We are really glad you could join us. Is there anything you would like to say to close us out?
The biggest thing is, I appreciate the offer. I was humbled by it. I enjoy, finally actually talking to some of the other writers, and it was a great time. I love writing for BTSC. I'm just over my 4th year, and the community is great. Getting to interact with the YouTubers is fun. It really is.
Yeah, and we're really glad that you came on with this. We're going to have to remember this, and when there's specific issues coming up or specific articles that you have that things that are important, using a guest spot here every once in a while for you to possibly come back. I know Kevin would like to come back, and we're going to even look at some of the other writers that if they have anything they want to come on and talk about. But a lot of people were glad to have you. We were really glad to have you. It was funny when I told Rich that we might be having some other writers for the site. He's like, well, who's that? I'm like, well, I said, first up, we're going to have Flip. He's like, that's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah. Well, I had to say it because I still live my claim to fame right now is that I'm still Flip's signature line on the BTSC website when he comments. So,
I still get bashed for stuff I said like 4 years ago on articles. So, that's the problem with putting stuff out there on the internet is it lives on forever.
That's right.
Yes. Well, I mean that's the thing. I will always. I was deemed a Duck hater and a Mason lover because I liked the pick when they picked Mason Rudolph back when I wasn't even part of Behind the Steel Curtain yet. And I just thought it was a good pick and was hoping he'd do. I was disappointed with him this season, but that's just kind of how it was. Flip looks like he's ready to show something off.
Yeah, what are we?
He's got the Duck season. Is that a shirt or a sweatshirt?
That's one of the sweatshirts. My nephew for Christmas, right before the Bills game.
Oh, we were at that game. Don't get us started.
And he's of course not a football fan, but bless my little nephew for getting me a Duck jersey or a Duck sweatshirt and a T-shirt. We'll see. I'll throw this out there for a little parting gift. Is we'll see how Duck and Rudy, square off in the preseason.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I know you have your opinions. We'll save that for another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Rich, anything you want to say to send us out here tonight?
No, just thanks for everybody that's been out there keeping things lively on the chat. It's always great to see everybody out there talking, even when we're not getting the stuff. People are back and forth there with each other. It's good to see.
It's a great community, guys. It's a great community, and we appreciate it. Hey, make sure that you are tuning in to all the BTSC podcast. We'll have Jeff and Lance on for the Standard tomorrow night. Steelers preview Thursday. Lance's, I said it, Friday. No idea who's burning up with a question on Saturday. Then we're back with Jeff and Lance. Homer and the hater. I don't know. Maybe Flip might be able to identify with one or both of those. And then Brian and Tony, who are also both BTSC writers, with their show on Monday. And we'll be back again with Stat Geek on Tuesday. Make sure you're checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. And when it comes to here with YouTube and the podcast, we thank you all for tuning in. Tell a friend and subscribe. Thanks for geeking out with us.